coming after you, and we're coming after you, and we're coming after you, and we're coming after you. I'm coming after you. We're coming after you. We're coming after you. We're coming after
Hello there, everybody. How we doing? Good to see everyone. Glad you are here. Man, live streaming once again. We are live. We are ready to roll. For those of you that are here, when you're joining me, go ahead and just say, hey, what is up? I would love to be able to chat with you a little bit and just see what's going on. I got a couple things that are kind of acting up on this end. Apparently, Facebook does not want to connect today. I'm not exactly sure what's going on with that, but that is quite all right. So we got Charles Nickens in the house. Charles, hey, how you doing, brother? Good to see you. Glad that you could make it. And we also got Diana Gladney. Man, I love it when you guys hop on here and say what's up. Oh, there she is. There's Hot Stuff herself, my lovely wife, saying hey from the kitchen. Charles saying, you're going to have to leave early. That's all right. I'm just glad that you guys can join with us for as long as you can, however long you can. I appreciate it. So let me see here. I'm going to try one other thing here just because this thing, I really wish I had the Facebook going. And for some reason, every time I click live, it winds up telling me error creating live video. So I'm just going to blame that on Facebook, and you know what? For those that happen to be on Facebook, I suppose they're not going to know any different. Although I imagine I probably could just share this stream, couldn't I? That would probably be a nice thing to do. Let me see if I can actually figure out how to share this thing. Isn't it amazing that that's the one thing like I've never really tried to do is share my own Facebook Live? So let's see, go over here, tap on my page, let everybody know. What should I tell them? Should I just tell them that Facebook is goofy? That's what I'm thinking. Here we go. Facebook is not liking my live stream, but you can check me out on YouTube. And that should work. Yeah, we'll see. If they jump over, they jump over. If not, I'm just going to blame it on Facebook, and I'm not really going to care. So, we got a Life Devoted hopping in. It's been a long time. How you doing? I am doing well, brother. Thank you for asking. It is good. I finally got around to modifying the back end that you guys can't see right now. So, I've got a computer monitor here. I'm going to be getting another one set up right here. And I got this multi-monitor bracket. Get these things up and out of the way a little bit. So if you see my eyes flipping over here a little bit, that is exactly why. So I'm kind of excited for that. It's going to help me a ton, I believe, with the editing and the workflow. I do have a second monitor over here already, but I don't use it as much as I really should. So I need to start doing it. So Harley Pebley in the house, and Harley saying, why don't you schedule your live streams a couple hours before you go to live to remind those of us with bad memories? Honestly, that's just my bad. That is totally me. I am a huge slacker. It would really be easy if I actually did that, but for some reason I haven't been. Probably because I'm half the time I'm running a little bit late, actually, as in I was just getting ready to hit go live with like a 5-minute countdown on it. And then I get a phone call, and it was a pastor from here in the area. So he was talking to me. I wanted to make sure to chat with him for a little bit. And then we hop on for you guys. So that type of stuff, I don't know. I probably still could do it. Just go ahead and go live, have a phone up to my ear, let you guys in on the other half of the conversation. It'd be all right. So that is kind of what is happening and why I do that. Diana saying dual monitors are a must. I completely agree with you. And I've got, this one is a 27-inch Samsung. It's the curved, so the full HD. I love the curved monitor. I didn't think I was going to like it, but it actually works really well for me. And I love the size too, especially when editing in Premiere. It's just fantastic. The problem is I've got this old HP monitor that, I don't know, maybe a 17-inch. It's tiny. So I need another one of these. That's what I'm thinking. So I have a feeling by this time next week, I'm going to have dual curved 27-inch monitors right there. And then I'll just line up my M50 right in between the monitors. I think that'll work good. Either that or maybe I'll mount it over top of one of them. I'm not quite sure. What do you guys think? Is the eyesight, if I had, say, the monitor right here, I would kind of be looking in this area if it was right below the camera. So is that eyesight and that eye line, if my eyes are kind of doing one of these, is that more or less distracting than if I were to be looking over here or over here? What do you think? You guys are the ones that are looking at me right now, so you tell me what you think. I would love to hear what your thoughts are on that. Harley, I'm going to give myself a note, actually. I do need to schedule that out a little bit more. It's definitely something. So, schedule lives. It's there. So, I got my note. I will definitely do that. It looks like Danielle saying the South Carolina peeps in the house. Awesome. Hey, tell that husband of yours that I do have the setup mostly done, and I will send him a picture of it later so he can kind of see, even though it's not completely done. Maybe I'll make him wait until it's completely done. I like that idea. That'll be all right. So, Harley saying, I don't know that the monitor placement makes that big of a difference. Okay. That's kind of what I was thinking, because I have a feeling for the most part, as long as I'm being very conscious about the fact that I'm talking to you guys, and so there is people on the other side of that lens, I think it works out really well. If I can just make contact, at least eye contact, that you guys know what's going on, I think that really does help. So whether or not I bounce back and forth like this, looking at this monitor, looking at that monitor, me personally, I don't think it really matters. I've watched enough people doing live streams that when I see their eyes deviate a little bit, I just assume that they are looking at a monitor. Unless it's like a Peter McKinnon vlog and he's looking over here, or up there, then I kind of assume he's talking to his imaginary cameraman. So, but anyway, that's just me. Mike Sellers in the house. New subscriber on your YouTube account. First saw your GoPro review, and I'm actually buying the Hero Dusk 7 White Edition this weekend. Man, that's awesome. Glad to have you here. Glad you could join. That little GoPro, I absolutely love it. I was just looking around and I don't know where I put it. Oh, hey, here it is. I was like, I knew it was on the desk something. So he's talking about this one here. It's the Hero 7 Black, but this is the Dusk White Edition. So yeah, I absolutely love that little thing. Honestly, I think that the Hero 7 is a fantastic, maybe one of the best cameras that are actually out there. If somebody's wanting to get started on vlogging and things like that, honestly, that's one of my go-to recommendations, especially if they're going to be any type of action, water things. If you're thinking there's a chance that the camera might get wet for what you're doing, Hero 7 Black. If not, and you think you're going to keep it dry all the time, DJI Osmo Pocket might be a good idea as well. It just kind of depends. They're both good. I do think that I actually like the audio straight out of this, slightly better than the Osmo Pocket. However, the Osmo Pocket, you can actually find the microphone adapter. You can't find those for the GoPro 7. I've got one, but man, was that fighting tooth and nails. And I think I know half dozen different vloggers right now that they cannot find those. They're looking all over and just not able to get one. So, okay, here's a good one. So Diana, if you could pick one, GoPro 7 or the Osmo Pocket, for me, as long as it's the black, so the Hero 7 Black, it can be the Dusk White edition, but as long as it's the Hero 7 Black that has the Hyper Smooth, this is kind of tricky. I would say if you're going to be recording and you're wanting to put out 4K footage, go with the Osmo Pocket. If 4K doesn't matter that much to you, go with the GoPro Hero 7. So that's kind of the caveat. Now, that being said, I have both. I'm actually looking at selling the Osmo Pocket because I don't really use it. The one reason I did kind of buy that and I wanted to use it was primarily the active track feature. Now, when I say that I'm going to sell it, I'm going to give it one more shot. I'm going to do the latest updates on it and try it out at church. Because what I really wanted it to do was to be able to kind of track me while I was preaching, so I didn't need a cameraman. But it just didn't work. It's not the Osmo Pockets. That's not the problem with it. I know it's not. I don't blame it on DJI at all. I blame it on our lighting at our church, that for some reason it just has an issue isolating me and checking me out. If it doesn't work the way I want it to, I'm getting rid of it. And I'll probably take the money I sell off of it and put that towards the brand new DJI Ronin SC. Yeah, I want one of those because this M50 will fit beautifully on it. So that's kind of what I'm looking at for. Charles saying you could always wear shades, so we don't know. I like where your head's at. I think Harley's on the page here. Yeah, it's a little like Casey Neistat. I could definitely do some of that. Although I don't know. I'm not sure I could do it. I kind of like the eye contact, being able to connect with you guys. I kind of like the way that works. So Genevieve is laughing at me. I'm sure that means she's laughing because I said I was going to buy the new Ronin SC. I don't think that was very funny. Although, hey Genevieve, while you're listening, would you be so kind to bring me an actual mug? Because I have a feeling I'm going to be slurping through this and I don't want to annoy everybody nor myself. If you would, I would love you long time. I will love you long time even if you don't, but hey, that's good. So, she is saying she's laughing because my list is getting longer. I told her I only had like one more item that I wanted to buy this year, and it was going to be another one of these. And then I saw the new Pico mic, and I decided there were two things that I needed to buy. And then all of a sudden the Ronin SC came out, and I decided there's another thing that I want to buy. It keeps getting longer and longer and longer. All right. Okay, she's over here doing that stuff. So Harley's saying, I've been playing around with the tracking on the Osmo gimbal and the phone, and it seems to work pretty well. May fit it into the future videos. Yeah, you know, the Osmo Pocket, even when I would use it on the phone and everything, if I was out and about, oh man, it worked great. So, did you vanish with my coffee? She's walking away with my coffee. I'm not sure what's going on here. Is the floating coffee hand coming back? You keep spilling coffee. Floating coffee hand. Hey, there's the floating coffee hand. So yeah, the active track. I love the way that it does the face tracking. I love the way that it tracks somebody. It's just phenomenal. It works great in outdoor scenarios and even most indoor lighting. The issue that I have is at our church, the back wall is painted black. We got a few colored lights. That's what I'm missing. I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, colored lights. I knew there was something. Live stream. There we go. Hey, now I feel much better. So it was one of those that we've got that light set up, and this type of a lighting, for some reason, it just doesn't like. Now, we don't have very good front spotlights, and I think that's part of the other thing with our setup. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to either get something else that could work a little bit better, and that's where I'm kind of thinking that the way I've seen the Ronin the SC with the active track, it looks like it'll work pretty well. I need to double check with cameras and see, because I know sometimes DJI, it gets a little buggy with some of the stuff with Canon. They kind of prefer Sony and Panasonic stuff, although hey Genevieve, here comes another thing that I want to buy. I think actually next week I might do that. I might actually just buy, I want to get one of the Panasonic G7s. So if anybody's got one of those, let me know what you think of them. So I like the idea of having the limitless recording that is kind of built in on those that you can bypass versus Canon and trying to do Magic Lantern, which is more of a firmware hack, and it doesn't do seamless continuous recording. So anyways, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Yep, that's right. One more thing to the list. So you guys are loving this. We got some laughter in the house. I keep adding stuff on here. Diana saying, yeah, the Pico mic definitely on the list. You know, I listened to a side-by-side audio comparison because I do have the Rode Wireless Go. So I've got the Rode Wireless Go, and I could buy 2 Wireless Go's, even with like the Smart Lav Plus, or I believe they're actually coming out with a new, like a Lav Go. I think that Rode's coming out with, if I heard right. I could buy those for about the same price that the Pico mic setup does. However, here's where I buy a lot of my gear for my personal settings, and that's kind of the caveat that I'll tell people about. It's like, this is how I'm using it. This is how I want to use it. So with the Pico mic, the thing that would really help me is, one, be able to record stuff at church easy. I don't have to worry about fishing my lav up my body, hiding it under a shirt. I can take that little thing and just clip it here. And it's so small, so lightweight. It'll hang there. It's not going to be a distraction. So I love the idea of that. I think the big problem or downfall with that is the capsule for the microphone, because of it being so tiny, is just so small, and there is a little bit of digital processing on that. So I was listening to this side-by-side comparison of the Wireless Go and the Pico mic. Wireless Go sounds so much better. Got to give it to them. However, with just a little bit of post-processing on that audio, I really didn't know too much of a difference. So that's where I think I'm going to pick it up. Plus, having the dual labs like that, it'll help in my type of a setting. If I'm out doing a vlog, going to do a collab with somebody, man, super easy. Just mount that receiver up on top of the M50, throw a couple labs on me and whoever else is there, and I know I've got good audio. It's the one thing when I met up with I guess I did the collab with Jared from A Bite of Brownie. I did the one with Trey Van Camp, the one with Chase Jones. And those collabs, we were just using my little Rode video mic or the Video Micro. And it does a great job. But when you're setting, 5 to 10 feet away from it, it starts to lose and it picks up too much of the background noise. So I just didn't like that. So anyways, that's kind of what my thought is. So Harley saying maybe you need to upgrade your lighting and not get rid of the camera. Yeah, talking about the Osmo Pocket. I've thought about that, and that's probably why I've been holding on to it for so long. But I think the compromise is I've already got an M50, I've got an EOS M, and I've got the GoPro Hero 7 Black. And I do want to pick up one of the Panasonic G7s. So having 4 different cameras, my wife starts, palm facing herself unless I get rid of, because then with the Osmo Pocket, that's 5 cameras. And if I'm going to have, I don't know if I need that many for my setting. So that's kind of where I'm thinking I'll be able to get rid of the Osmo Pocket and I can cut somebody a pretty good deal on it. I'm not too worried about that. And it is a really good camera. I do recommend it. I've recommended it to lots of other people. That's where I say, like when Diana's asking, which do I prefer? Do I prefer the Osmo Pocket or the GoPro Hero 7 Black? It really depends on your setting. I mean, I do not like the fisheye that GoPro typically does. That distortion, I'm not a fan of that. And even when you try to correct that and do the lens correction in your editing software, I just don't like the way it looks. It does a really good job, but it's just odd. I love the linear mode, but the linear mode for the GoPro Hero 7 Black is only 2.7K. So if you're concerned about 4K, which I'm not, that's where I would say you definitely want the Osmo Pocket, because you're going to get linear and you're going to get 4K. That's where I kind of set. But I also like doing different shots. I've done a couple where I've, put this inside of a coffee cup and then I'm pouring the coffee in or pouring the water on top of it. Those type of shots, the Osmo Pocket's not going to be able to get. So that's kind of where I go on that. So, but anywho, Michael Sellers, that coffee mug though. Yes, that coffee mug. It is my daughter's mug. She loves it. I don't even know if she's watching in there. Micah, are you seeing this? He doesn't want to follow me, but that's okay. So yeah. Hey, if you guys have got any questions you want to throw out there, similar to like what Diana did, saying, hey, what would you prefer, this or that? Have you got any thoughts, any questions that you might have? Feel free to drop them down here. Love to chat with you about some of those things. There was something, and I'm trying to remember what it was, because it was just a few minutes ago. I was telling my wife, I said, I need to think of something to talk about just in case everybody gets a little quiet. And I'm thinking, but I can't remember, because I had a thought and I'm thinking, I know what I wanted to chat about, but now I don't know what I wanted to chat about. Isn't that interesting? Oh, actually, no. I do remember. It's another little exciting thing that I got going on here. There is a challenge that is going on that I know a few people that may or may not be in on these live streams are partaking in. It is a Passion to Profit challenge about creating some online courses, really for Christian entrepreneurs and stuff. And so I'm working on this in this challenge, trying to get the ideas and the concepts about creating some type of an online course. And today is day 2 of it. I'm supposed to have some homework done. I have not finished my homework yet. I will be getting it. Wait. My son, you finally passed 666. I have no idea which. Oh, you're talking about on the YouTube channel. Is that true? We noticed this last night. I wound up hitting 665 subscribers on the YouTube channel, and I was like, no, it's going to happen. Boom. Love how that works. So just got a little bit of a surge. So I didn't even notice hitting the 666. You guys are awesome. Love y'all, man. You guys are the greatest. So one of the things that, kind of looking at Jason Mayfield in the house. Oh, this is going to be fun. And interactive media, it is a sign. Yes. So yes, definitely growth, definitely happen. So this Passion to Profit, son. Yeah, there's the course, and it's Alejandro Reyes that is kind of putting this on. And I love it because it's got the brain spinning. It's got me thinking. And part of that process is figuring out what is it that I can bring value in? What is it that I can speak on? I don't have to be the best. I don't have to be the smartest. I don't have to be the most intelligent, most knowledgeable. I don't have to be the greatest expert on any of these things. I've got to be passionate about it, or at least passionate enough about it. And through this process, I started reeling back over the last couple months and even maybe the last year or so, and realizing that I do have this passion that is lying in with social media and really Christians getting involved in social media to really kind of encourage others to live by faith and share God's love in this digital world. And so there's this passion that I've got with that of not just me doing it myself, but my reach is only so big. I would rather take what it is that I've learned and what it is that I've found out and share it with others so they're able to expand that reach. And hopefully we can just kind of flood the whole world with the gospel. So that's one of these big passions. But then I've also noticed that most of the churches in America, really most of the churches in the world, are small churches. I don't remember the latest statistics. I need to look these up, but the vast majority of them are not only under 200 members, the vast majority are actually under 100. And those that have less than 100 members in their church, they start struggling the most when it comes to having a presence on social media. And the problem is that's where people are at. That's where they're spending their time. I told people in our church, one of the big reasons that I wanted to start getting active on social media was because I'm only able to really speak into most of their lives an hour or two a week. What am I doing with the other 166, 167 hours throughout the week? What could I be doing? And so that's kind of where this concept came in. If I can get online, if I can become more socially interactive, I can start sharing more with them, more from my life so they can follow me as I follow Christ, so that I can start encouraging them. So, here we go. Interactive media. 61% of small churches have fewer than 100 members. The majority of churches, fewer than 100 members. And so that type of a concept, when you've got that many, the pastors are typically doing so much work and they don't have the time to, one, figure out how do I even put content on social media, and two, then actually have the time to do it. I would love nothing more, and I'm really passionate about this, helping the pastors cut through all the noise and really simplifying social media for them and say, if you just do this, that right there expands your reach, and it gives you the ability to create a bigger impact. So that's kind of where I'm heading in this process. And I really want to be able to do some of that. I've gotten a ton of great feedback over just the last couple weeks from my latest podcast episode that I did of Social Media Simplified. Had a lot of people reaching out to me on different social platforms, and thank you for that. It was great. I really appreciated it, and this is what I've now done. And so they're actually taking it and getting active. So this is going to be an interesting challenge that we're doing, this Passion to Profit challenge, because what it's going to wind up leading to is me creating some type of a digital course that I can replicate my efforts in such a way that it'll get to more ministry leaders out there and really kind of equip them, especially those that are in those small churches. I think they're going to find some of the greatest benefit out of it because they've already got limited resources. So that's kind of what I'm doing there. So here we go. We've got interactive media. Podcasts are quickly becoming one of the most popular mediums online. In fact, 112 Americans have listened to a podcast and 42 million listen to podcasts weekly. Give me a shout out. There's your shout out. People go check out his podcast. There you go. If you're on YouTube, you can click on his profile, head over. I'm sure you'll be able to find it from there. No, I love it. I love that type of stuff. You know, I've got the digital ministry podcast. not 112, but 112 million. I think I read the 112, but yeah, it's one of those things that this is a huge opportunity. It's one of the main reasons that I started to jump into the podcast medium. I first realized YouTube is where it needs to be at. That's where I needed to put most of my effort in. It is the second largest search engine in the world, and it is actually the biggest social media platform, especially for the next generation. The younger generation are spending more time on YouTube than they are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok, LinkedIn, Pinterest, all of them. They're just spending more time. And because of that, it's like, I need to be there. I need to get there. But then I started looking at the other platforms. And so I've spent the last year and a half really kind of diving in and figuring out some simple ways really leveraging social media for ministry purposes. So I'm kind of excited with it, and looking forward to seeing how this goes. So Diane over there, and then she's in the Passion to Profit as well. Haven't finished mine either. Have to finish my homework later tonight for the P2P. I do too. I think I have 10 minutes left in the video, and then I know it won't take me too long to get the rest of it done, but I've got to get that. So, because we've got home group here in, 45 minutes is something like that, 50 minutes. Yeah, if I can do my math right. But at 7 o'clock Central Time here, that's when we're going to head across town for our home group. And I'll be there for an hour and then straight into the P2P group. So I got to get that going. Better hurry. I get fired up about my new course topic, but I never thought to move forward with creating a course around it. But now I feel really empowered to go ahead and do it. Do it. Yes, you got to do it. And if I remember right, Diana, you're wanting to help ministries, isn't it? Really kind of leverage video, if I remember right. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm thinking that's kind of what it was, in and around that type of a concept and idea. I got my phone over here and I could pull it up, but we'll see. I'm pretty sure I'm in the general ballpark, because that's kind of a lot of what you do already is that entrepreneurial stuff. And you do provide so much value and information on video, on some of the technical aspects of it. So I think that would be great. I think it would also, one of the spinoffs that you could be working on is even how to do some live streams. Honestly, I would love to see more pastors doing this type of a live stream, less of the Sunday church service live streams and more of this interactive stuff where they can kind of contact, reach to them, connect with them, answer some questions, do stuff. Granted, live is not cut out for everybody. Some people just want to read all the comments, and that's not always a good thing to do. So yes, help ministries connect better with millennials through online video. There we go. Yeah, I knew it was the help. So yeah, that's amazing, because this generation that's out there, they are online. They are spending time online. They are consuming their media, their information online. That's the vast majority of what they're doing. And so I think it's so important for us to have more of a video presence. And really with some of the online video, here's the one thing that just kind of boggles my mind when it comes to churches in particular. A lot of churches are already recording audio, and many are recording video already. And so it's like, if you're already recording video, what can you do with that video to kind of leverage it, to use it in different social platforms? I was talking to some pastors up at our ministry conference, and I just asked, I was like, do you record your Sunday sermons or do you live stream them? Well, they don't live stream, but they do record video. I was like, all right, perfect. So here's an idea, because, I asked first, where are you at? Are you on Facebook primarily? Are you on Instagram? Is it YouTube? Where are you at? And this pastor was already on Instagram. I was like, perfect. So here's what you need to do. Those amen moments when you're preaching and all of a sudden the congregation really gets into it, make a mental note, or have somebody in the congregation do a physical note of, pastor just said this, video. And then you take like a 60-second clip out of that gold that you just found in that sermon, and you upload that clip straight to Instagram. If you've got somebody that's got a little bit of technical ability and can put some captions over top of it, even better. Just doing stuff like that. It's kind of an amazing thing, and it would be so simple, easy to do, little bit of effort. And quite frankly, most churches, they have somebody in the church already that could help them with that content. So Jason Mayfield saying, micro content, son. Yes. Amen. Yep. Micro is powerful. It is. It's that type of content that is huge. To give somebody just a little bit to go throughout their day. And if pastors, if churches already have the content there, why not just dice it up into little bitty beats. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. So that's kind of what I would be loving. So, interactive medium. Do you think that sermons will become longer? Also, have you heard Jordan Peterson's biblical series over Genesis? So the two comments there. No, I haven't heard anything about Jordan Peterson's biblical series. So I have not heard anything on that. As far as do I think sermons will become longer? No. I think sermons are going to become shorter. So that's kind of what I'm thinking as far as the sermons go. And that's just from preaching every single Sunday. It's what I'm seeing. And it's not even just me preaching every single Sunday. It's me going to pastors' conferences and ministry conferences. The longer form content, at least in a sermon, is not going to happen. It's going to be shorter content. I do think that there is an avenue where we could be putting out longer form. Okay, so right here, perfect. You're saying that people are craving macro, and I would say yes, they're craving macro to a certain degree. The vast majority of people that I know that are listening to a podcast, they're doing so while doing something else. So I'll listen to an hour and 20-minute, hour and a half. I typically don't go over that, but an hour and a half podcast, something like that, I'll listen to. But typically what I do is I break that up into 3 different sessions. So I'll have like a half-hour trip from here to our church back. That's what I'll do. Or if I'm heading up to Des Moines, throw on a podcast. It's about 45 minutes up there, 45 minutes back, and I'll digest the podcast there. So while I'm already driving, I'm going to be doing that. On a Sunday morning, no, I really don't think it's going to happen. I think you're going to start losing people because of people's attention span. If that's all they're doing, if it's just focus type content, I really don't think it's going to take off. That's just my personal opinion. It's my observation. I don't think it's going to happen. I think that ministries especially could start to tap into that craving by doing more podcasts, but that's where they need to create separate content for it. I think they need to be able to really just kind of sit down and have conversations. And even one of the great things that I think many churches could do that would be fun and it would be exciting, something I've thought about our church doing. I'm just not sure that, one, I'm ready to invest the time and energy into doing that, because most of the stuff I'm doing has multiple purposes for it. So I'm reusing and breaking up that content and repurposing it. But I think it would be cool if a lot more churches would just have the pastor sit down with somebody from the congregation and really do a sermon recap. That thing could be an hour, hour and a half long, even if the sermon itself is only 25, 30 minutes. You could go an hour with that type of a content, discussing it. What do you think about this? Have you ever had, almost to turn it into like a small group discussion format? I would love to see churches doing something like that. And I think it would be a great way to really leverage the medium of podcasts without the pastor themselves having to add too much extra workload to what they're already doing. They've already studied this message out. They already have all their thoughts gathered with it. Then it's just kind of getting some feedback and talking about it. And I think it's also unique enough that in that conversational style format, people are going to be more willing to listen to that. That's just kind of my take. So, yep. Okay, so you're saying that my old church does that and it takes a special guy to do it. It does take a special guy to do it, to be able to kind of bounce that off. I think most pastors have the potential to do it. They just have never thought about doing that type of a methodology. Maybe not even a method, but that type of a conversation. They've never thought doing it in that type of a medium, and I think it would be good. So, Jason's sitting here saying, "I wish I could wrap my head around podcasting. I just haven't figured out a way to make a great one." Yeah, even me with the digital ministry podcast, I love having the conversations. I love what I'm doing with it. It is a ton of work. That's the one thing I don't like doing about it, but I do know that there's a lot of potential out there, and I'm getting a lot of great positive feedback, so I'm going to keep doing it. But it's hard with podcasts. I think my favorite podcasts are more conversational in nature, but there are a few of them that I do listen to that are very much just information. Now, they're usually YouTube specific stuff, and even that, it kind of feels like a conversation, but I don't know. Yeah, trying to wrap a head out of how to make a great one. It's a great medium. There's a ton of potential out there, but I don't know, man. As far as, because I'm sitting here and I'm thinking with your content specifically, Jason, and if I were to, how could you do a podcast that would be, well, honestly, that latest video that you had where you did the conversation, that's essentially podcast. That was a long interview, and that works in that type of a format. Some of the other stuff that you might even be able to do is if you could get your audience to really give you more Q&As. You know, you could have a podcast that is, you know, ask the hashtag not your pastor, you know, and just to answer some of those stuff, that would be entertaining, especially if you could get your people to ask the questions and submit them in audio format. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I would have a great call-in show if people would call in. You would. It would be an amazing call-in show. You set one up, I'm calling in. I'll set my timer, and I'll just, I don't know, throw bombs towards you and see how you answer those things. So now let me jump down here and get some other. Diana saying micro exposure, macro for depth. If you can't get 30 seconds of their attention, you'll never see your 30 minutes of content. You got to have a strategy. I got to read that over again and try to chew that all up and digest it. Micro for exposure, macro for depth, and if you can't get 30 seconds of their attention, they'll never see your 30-minute content. You got to have a strategy. Yes, absolutely. You got to be able to catch them. And I think that's one of the hard things with a lot of podcasts that are out there. The exposure, they don't do a good job of promoting their stuff. Honestly, if you look at Like Him or Love Him, Joe Rogan has the greatest as far as size and reach podcast that is there, the Joe Rogan Experience. And that one, he has micro content as well. He takes the overall podcast, breaks it up into little bites, and puts that thing out everywhere, and then links back to the full episode. So people will get stuff like that. They'll buy it. You know, a lot of the stuff that others like Gary Vee that he puts out there, those little bite-sized nuggets, people will see those, they'll hear those. The guy floods Instagram with content, and then it brings you over to more of the long-form stuff that he does. That's why I would buy his book. That's why I did buy his book, was because I saw that little stuff and it gave me the value that I needed in 60 seconds. And I was like, all right, this is worth me spending $15 on the book. So I think that's spot on. I think it does need to have that balance where you could get the exposure, but then get the depth. And I guess for me, when I'm thinking, and this may go back to interactive media as far as the long form type content. Here, you got another comment here. It says, fun fact, Joe Rogan's podcast is now listened to 1.5 plus billion times a year, and the average length is 3 hours. Yeah. Now, I listen to Joe Rogan's podcast occasionally. Most of the time I don't. And I would say occasionally, maybe once a month is probably about all I listen to it. When I do, it's short. Most of the podcasts that I listen to are right at an hour. When I see it's over an hour, man, it better not be over an hour and 20 minutes. For some reason, I see a 1 and a 2 and I'm pretty much checked out, unless I absolutely love the person, and then I'll listen. Other than that, I rarely do. And even when I do, if I listen to the full podcast, like I said, I'm breaking it up over and over. I think that's why I would sit there and say, you know, I'm not quite sure that I would I would ever say that sermons are going to get longer. I think they're going to get shorter. Now, it depends on what you mean by sermon length too. I don't even know what the average sermon length is out there. I can tell you, if you had asked me 5 years ago, my average sermon length, if my wife still listened, she'll be able to kind of tell me whether or not this is true or not. But as far as me, it's like, if my old sermons, man, I think the average was probably 50 minutes. It was somewhere between 45 minutes and an hour is probably where it was. Now, my current sermon length, 30, maybe 35, and that's with a closing prayer that usually takes 5 minutes itself. I've just noticed that I'm able to be more effective in cutting out, eliminating the fluff, and getting straight to the point when I do stuff like that. And I try to limit myself in that approach. Doesn't mean I don't get long-winded every now and then, but the typical one, that's kind of where it falls in. It was one of those that I remember thinking about this, and somebody, I don't know, one of my pastor friends, mentors, I had asked him a similar thing about how long should the sermons be. You've probably heard other people say this. I don't know who first said it, but it needs to be as long as it has to be and as short as it can be. Get to the point. That's the thing with me. That's even the thing like with my podcast. I don't want those to be too long. I don't want to just be talking for the sake of talking. I don't want to be talking just for the sake of YouTube watch time or any of that stuff. I want to make sure that if I'm actually having conversations, that it's adding value, because people are giving their time to me. And that's the one commodity that we will never be able to get more of. All we got is all we got. And so if people are giving me their time, I want to make sure that I'm providing as much value as I can in those scenarios. That's the big reason that I do kind of shorten up all of those. So, yeah, just my thoughts on that. So, Harley's sitting here saying, used to go to a church where Sunday AM was a typical sermon and the PM service was more informational. Q&A of what was discussed in the morning. That's amazing. That is an absolutely phenomenal idea. I love that concept. When we kind of switched up our Wednesday night service, where it used to be some additional thoughts and insights, some things that would have been good to help out the sermon, but they weren't really necessary to it. So it was just kind of bonus content, more or less. So we did that, and I loved how it worked quite a while. Then we just shifted it a little bit, which I didn't mind, because then it was a little less work for me. But yeah, I like that concept. So I'm going to have to, stick a pin in that one and kind of remembering it. So Diana saying, leveraging different ministers within the ministry can help minimize overwhelming one pastor. Amen. Amen. I totally agree with that. Being a small church pastor, it's such an important thing. Michael agreeing with that as well. It is. Oftentimes in small churches, there aren't enough bodies to do the work. But I've also found in a lot of small churches, there are more people that would love to help out than ever feel like they have an opportunity to help out. And I speak from existence with people in our church that said, I didn't even know there was an opportunity for me to serve. Well, shame on me for not making that known. So that's just another thing that was out there. So Diana saying that one video Jason did when he sold his Sony camera was good. It was gold. Watched that one a lot. Yeah. It was very, very good. So let's see who we got. Shout out to Josh for that idea. I'm a few minutes behind on that one, so I'm not sure which idea, but I think it was breaking it up, the macro content into micro content. And here's another fun one. Don't lie, you listen to the whole Alex Jones one. I don't even know what to say to that comment. I honestly, I don't know if I've ever listened to Alex Jones. So it may not be fair for me to even just snicker in that way. Don't know. I have no idea. I know people who do listen. It's about all I can say about that. So, um, but yeah, so this whole concept about the long form, short form type of a content, uh, I I I think both are necessary. I think part of it is really kind of in and coming to define what is long form, what is short form, and this is one of those questions that I got when I did the social media simplified message at our ministry conference. That was actually a similar question that I got, and it was from a pastor, and he said, when it comes to video, when it comes to online video, how long should it be? Um, it depends. It depends on the platform. It depends on so many different variables. I think the first thing is just start with where you're at and use what you got, do what you can. So, but honestly, I think maybe it comes back to my whole thing on preaching. How long does the video, how long should it be? As long as it needs to be, but as short as it can be. If you can get your point across in 5 minutes, why are you wasting another 5 minutes? Just get to the point. But if you can't get everything out in under an hour, why would you try? If it takes an hour to get all that information out, then take the whole hour. So that's kind of where I come in on this, and I've done that even like with these live streams. I typically have I want to aim for an hour, but I've had some where we've cut them down to like 35 minutes and we're done. And then others we've went an hour and 15, hour and 20, something like that. It really depends. If there's a kind of lull in the conversation and everything, and I'm looking at the clock and I'm thinking, I probably should get going here in a few minutes. Well, then I'm going to go ahead and head out in a few minutes. So that's kind of the different thing that, I don't know, I kind of want to look at and I process that. But this is a good conversation. It gets me thinking. So our attention spans are so much more developed, though. Look at the Netflix binge watchers. Yes. Yes and no. I mean, I agree in theory. I think here's the thing that is hard with the Netflix binge watchers is most of the shows that people will binge watch, those shows do a great job of having an overarching story that covers the entire season and even sets up the next season, but each episode has its own specific story. And even in those episodes, there are a lot of these subplots that people are going. But even when you look at some of that, and here's where, honestly, some of the shows, they kind of mess up because they'll have that overarching story throughout the entire season, but they'll do 3 or 4 episodes in a 20 episode series that are on that message, and then they have one episode that takes a break. Many people will watch up to that one, and then they take a break. And so it's part of, are you continuing the story? Are you able to capture their attention and keep their attention? That's the big thing. Honestly, for me, the vast majority of podcasts that are long, and because a lot of them are, they're boring. I don't listen to them because they're boring. Even people that I like, even podcasts I like, they're boring. And if it's boring, I'm just tuning out. If you can keep it going, keep it rolling, I'll listen. If not, and that's the other hard part about it, is podcast is kind of an on the go type of a consumption. When you look at where are people consuming it, it's primarily those type of deals where they're taking it on their iPhone or they're taking it with their Android device. They're on the go when they're listening to it, so they're able to do something else. So I think podcasts have that ability to do it where a Sunday sermon doesn't. And here's just the fact of the matter, because most preachers are boring. That's a preacher calling out other preacher and saying, most y'all are boring. That doesn't mean you have to be entertaining, jumping through hoops, lighting things on fire, pulling out magic tricks in the middle of a sermon. You don't have to do any of that stuff, but you can't be boring. And sometimes I bore our people. I just keep going down on this little rut, and it's like I'm oblivious to the fact that I've lost their attention. If I've lost their attention 10 minutes in, it doesn't matter if I go 30 minutes on a sermon or an hour on a sermon. The only thing I'm doing at that point is just, I don't know, making their butts sore because they just got to set for a while longer, annoying them because they start looking at the clock and thinking, really, is he done yet? Where the one thing that I would love to do, and this is where me shortening up my sermons has really helped our congregation, I leave them wanting more. And it's not like I didn't give them everything that I was planning on, everything that I felt the Holy Spirit really wanted them to have that week. No, that's not it at all. But I was able to get to it and just let's take them on this journey of dissecting the Bible and looking at it in such a way that 35 minutes later, they're like, wait, it's over already? And to me, those are the best type of TV shows on Netflix that I love watching, when I've been watching for 45 minutes and all of a sudden it's like, wait, it's over yet? I'm going to the next one. And so that's kind of the thing I love. I don't know as churches are going to be able to do that. I don't know if sermons are going to be able to do that, primarily because I don't think that we as Christians are hungry enough for that. And I think that too many pastors are just boring. So there you go. So how long do you think Paul's sermons were? Apples and oranges, really. We got a completely different culture, completely different context. They did not have these things. Really, they didn't have them to kind of keep us occupied and everything. Hardly long enough for people to fall out the window asleep. So no, it's just I don't see it happening. I'm sure there are going to be the exceptions to the rule with the long stuff. There will be, but I can just sit there and see, and I'm dealing with enough different pastors and ministry leaders that I'm seeing the people that are seeing the health and growth in their people. And I'm not just talking about numbers in the church. I'm talking about health, where people are serving more, where they're becoming more spiritually mature, taking on more responsibility. They typically aren't doing hour-long sermons. The vast majority of them are not. There are some exceptions to that. However, the ones that I do know that are preaching those much longer sermons, they're catering to typically an older audience, and the younger generation are just checking out. Right or wrong, it's just the way that I'm seeing it. There are some longer form ministers that are out there that are able to really do a good job for an hour and capture your attendance and keep you on the edge of the seat. I've been in some of those meetings. There's one I'm thinking of in particular that he just did like a Greek lesson, one verse, and it went for 2 hours, and I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. That's the only person I can think of right now that kind of did that. So, yeah, it's just, it's interesting, but, okay, so here's another one. I'm glad to give a second perspective. I listen to 5 hours of podcasts daily, no lie. Perks of riding a lawnmower. But here, that kind of goes to my point where you're doing something else. And that, if I was doing that, when I go out and I mow our lawn, I'm listening to podcasts. When I'm driving, I'm listening to podcasts, unless the whole family's there, and then I'm usually listening to Kids Bop Radio. But yeah, when I'm doing something else and I need to ear guzzle some content, podcast every single time. And they are typically half hour to hour is kind of where I aim. But I am doing, I am doing something else in there. So, Diana, got to bring value in a different way. No one wants to listen to the Clear Eyes guy for 1 hour versus Game of Thrones for 1 hour. You know? Yeah, I can't really say anything on that. So it's kind of interesting. Okay, so the interactive media, people used to flock to 20-minute sitcoms. Now they are watching full seasons, 8+ hours of content with the multiple characters. Such complexity. Yeah, and I do agree in that general sense that people are binge watching the content. But it's kind of a different beast, because the other aspect that you got to look at is right now the sitcoms that are typically out there that people are binge watching are only 20 minutes long. But if you go back 20 years, the sitcoms were actually 24, 26 minutes long per episode. And one of the big reasons that they've done that is they've put in a lot more commercials, and it just kind of eats away at the content. That's the other aspect of the Netflix and the streaming services that we're not even taking into consideration, is people flock to those because they're commercial free. I spend the extra money for commercial free. CBS All Access, commercial free. Hulu, commercial free. I spend the extra money because I don't want to deal with the commercials. If I wanted to buy your stuff, I would Google it. So that's kind of one of the other one of the other aspects. So Harley saying, for me, attention span is context dependent. I would totally agree. It depends on who it is. It depends on where I'm at. It depends on what the type of content is. Because I can sit there and go to a convention or a ministry seminar and be setting in 6 to 8 hours of teaching sessions a day for 3-4 days in a row. But then I'll go online and try to look up that same content. And if it's more than 10 minutes long, typically I'm not watching them. So unless it's a podcast, and then I'll listen for an hour. It's interesting on that. So Tim Schmoyer talks about having that story structure in his vlog. Yeah, this goes back to where I was talking about the overarching stories in there. His wife and he figure out monthly, weekly, and daily story acts for their family channel. That's amazing. I didn't know they did all of that, but that's amazing. I'm not sure I could do that. I'm not sure if I could get all the way in on breaking it down that much, but I think there needs to be a story and you need to tell it. One of my favorite guys is Jeff Barch from Story Greenlight, talks about the thing under the thing, which is absolutely so powerful. So I want to pull up one more comment, and then I do need to get going. I got a little Passion of Progress homework to get done before I head over to home group tonight. So Diana saying, I think it is really about the value someone places on content. Entertainment value versus value on content that improves their life. They want entertainment mostly. Yeah, and that is, I mean, it's the value is going to be in how we place it. What value do we have in it? Is this just entertainment? Is it just information? Is this supposed to help me? Is it supposed to benefit me? Or am I just, that's really good. I hadn't thought about that, because that's part of the other aspect is, what do I want to get out of it? Which may be kind of where people put it. And I will say that younger type generation. And here's the other part where I'm just going to throw in this one last little thought on long form, short form. And again, context dependent, the people, the generations, and all of that. But I would sit there and think about some of the social platforms that are out there and what people are using and how they're doing it. So you've got like Instagram, and Instagram, even after creating IGTV and creating long form content, if somebody has a 10-minute long video that they posted on IGTV and they want to place that onto their timeline, they'll only get a minute of it. Because even Instagram is realizing, you know what? I'm not sure we're going to be able to capture their attention for a whole minute. But we'll try it. Because if they're just scrolling, and then you can look at the story aspect, and it's 15 seconds at a time. And what I've seen with my stories is a lot of people, they'll watch the first couple, and if I can't keep their attention in that, click, 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 and they just get through. Then you can also look at platforms like the fastest growing one now is TikTok. 15-second videos. A few of them, yes, they're natively uploading and they're getting up to 60 seconds on that stuff, but that's about it. And a lot of them that are now trying to do live streams on TikTok, they're losing people. It's not getting the same type of interaction as the short stuff. So the younger the generation is, the younger they are. I think the shorter the attention span is, which if you're doing long form content, you just need to really create it in 15-second segments. You need to be able to kind of bite that up. And that's the other part of a lot of the long form TV and movie shows. You start to watch some of the people that actually break down. They're constantly changing scenes, changing camera angles, changing. Everything is moving, and it's constantly keeping us in that perpetual state. That's where a sermon is completely different, because you've essentially got a half hour, an hour that I'm kind of looking at the same view the entire time. So that's kind of thought. But all right, well, hey guys, I would love to get to some of the more. Actually, I'll just read these real fast. Jurgen Wayne hopping in here. Howdy, brother, saying we lose attention when you add more. Instead of adding more, do the hard work of finding simplicity in the message you're communicating. Love it. Interactive Diana, wisdom rarely comes in the form of entertainment, though I suppose it depends on what you mean by entertainment. And she's saying, yeah, I'm with you here. What is it? I'm nerdy, love educational content, but mainstream, the average person doesn't go to Facebook or IG for wisdom. Absolutely. I would say that is typically the case. But then Harley jumping in, don't know that you totally agree with it. Look at the social engineering that goes into TV entertainment, been going on for decades. Yeah, and that is those almost subliminal messages that they're putting in there. So now here's the one thing. I don't think people are going and trying to watch that for that education, but it is coming through. And I heard somebody many years ago that they said everybody out there is trying to get you to believe something. Even every TV show, they want you to believe something. Every movie wants you to believe something. If you go in ahead of time realizing they want me to believe something, you'll be able to discern what it is that they want me to believe. And am I willing to actually listen to them in that? That's something to help. You guys want to know what it is I want you to believe? I want you to believe that you need to be sharing God's love in the digital world, and that I really want to encourage you to live your life by faith in Jesus Christ. That's what I want. Pretty blunt about that. So there you go. Hey guys, I loved having you with me. This has been fun. I've really enjoyed it. Harley, I'm going to try to schedule this one for next week a couple hours ahead of time, so that way it gives you guys a heads up. I will be going live next Wednesday, 5:30 Central Time. That's it. I'm going to say a quick blessing prayer for you guys, and then I'm out of here. Father, I just ask that you would bless each and every person that heard this. Reveal yourself to them in a deeper and more fulfilling way. Show them your goodness. Show them your mercy. Show them your grace, and pour out your love in ways that they haven't yet experienced. Fill them with your Holy Spirit. Comfort them by your Spirit, and lead them in all of your ways. Lead them into all truth. And it is in the precious name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, that I pray. Amen, guys. Bless you. Stay blessed. Enjoy God's best. And we'll see you next time.